Hello, everybody. My name's Drew Demon, and I'm the Devil's Stockbroker. In today's update, I'm going to be giving you a rundown of AMC's current technical situation, as well as covering where in the heck did 8 quadrillion tokenized AMC tokens come from. Starting with the daily chart, AMC has set up 2 new lows in the last month of trading. Since we hit the low of $5.47 on October the 13th, and a low of $5.35, or excuse me, $5.05 on November 9th. AMC has bounced up very quickly and created this very large bull flag on its daily candle chart. So we can see AMC has tapped its 100 daily EMA, and it has been retracing in a healthy way back down to retest support at the 50 EMA. This is actually a very classic move. If you draw a fib on this, you will find that AMC has just bounced off of its 38 fib retracement level. This is actually an excellent sign of continuation coming for the stock, and I'm actually so excited to see what AMC is going to do in the next week that I've foregone selling any more covered calls. I've been selling covered calls in AMC for the last several months in order to try and recoup some losses from the decline in the stock price, and to good effect, I have kept all of my shares, and I'm still waiting to see what AMC will do in the near term. Now that we've gotten this big push to the upside, what I'm looking for is for AMC to test this channel one more time, possibly test its 50-period EMA one last time before breaking out the top of this bull flag and continuing. On the 15-minute chart, excluding extended trading hours, we can see that there's actually another very bullish pattern showing up on AMC that is a inverse head and shoulders. So an inverse head and shoulders is a formation that usually appears after a downtrend in the market, and what we expect to see is for the stock to set up a low, a lower low, and then a higher low back to back. And there is this consistent level of resistance above it that we call the neckline. This neckline serves as a resistance that we look to break out of. Upon breaking out of this bull flag, if we expect to see AMC break any further, then it needs to break the neckline of this inverse head and shoulders pattern. That level would be at around $7.80. A close on the daily above this level would confirm the move and suggest that AMC is preparing to make a move that is on par with the distance from its last high from that breakout point up to approximately $8.73, give or take about 15 cents. So this would be an excellent continuation pattern. We've got several continuation patterns lining up together. We still do expect to see a little bit of consolidation in AMC going into next week, and it's going to depend strongly on how the market reacts next week. I'm actually quite bearish on the market overall because we're seeing a lot of topping formations in the SPY and the Dow Jones. I'll be covering that in another video that you'll see soon enough, but I just wanted to see what AMC was doing in comparison to the market. And as long as AMC continues to hold up this level of support, then things look very good for it. It's very critical that AMC maintains this level of support and does not break this bull pennant that it's forming. As long as it can maintain these levels and does not break below $7 and close a day below this level, then AMC can continue moving to the upside. At the very least, we want to see AMC continuing to maintain its current level for above $7 for the duration of this entire upcoming trading week and hopefully for the rest of November. This would signal continuation to the upside. If we can see AMC break above 830 and take out this high that we see here, then AMC will be firmly in a bullish trajectory or continuation to the upside for the remainder of the next month. This is based on daily EMAs where we can see that the 50 EMA is starting to chase the 100 EMA. If we can get a crossover between the green and the orange, which would require AMC's price to climb over 380, then that would set up a new level of support at that level. It can attack the 200 period moving average, establish support, and continue moving going on through the remainder of December. That would be the bull case. I'll quickly move over to Ortex to go and review the short interest data on AMC, which we can see that the short interest percent of the free float is currently sitting at around 20%. Percentage of the free float on loan is at 35%, indicating that there's an additional 15% of the stock being borrowed by institutions such as a market maker or broker-dealer and being held waiting to either sell short or to deliver to somebody else for another purpose. Utilization in AMC's short utilization has been maxed out at 100 since early February of this year. And I want to give a brief reminder that we saw this exact same behavior in AMC, where the days to cover were rapidly rising over time. Utilization was maxed out at 100 for a prolonged period of time from April the 19th, 2021, all throughout the next month of May, up until the stock squeezed in June of that year. As you can see from AMC's chart, days to cover has only been climbing ever since that time. We've also seen these big spikes in failures to deliver in AMC consistently throughout the last few months in the market this year, but we still haven't seen AMC come back onto the threshold list since it dropped off of it back in July of 2021. While it's not a necessary component for my short squeeze metrics, seeing a stock on the threshold list does at least tell me that a stock is extremely hard to borrow and that broker dealers and market makers alike are having extreme difficulties finding access to supplies of shares in order to make their deliveries. If we start to see this stock failing to deliver in large quantities again, and it goes on the threshold securities list, that would be a signal that those market makers and broker dealers are continuing to struggle. As you can see, the short interest has pretty much been on the rise since, since before the squeeze even happened. And the average days on loan, by and large, have only been going up. What we can infer from this information is that shorts that got in to their positions back in August have been holding on to their positions, and old shorts that may have sold off during this or covered their positions back in July and August of this year may have gotten back into their positions and have been holding since that time. Currently, it's very difficult to predict the mindset of the institutions that are shorting AMC, but generally speaking, they've been pretty bearish on the company just based on the fact that they have quite a lot of debt to deal with. Something that Adam Aron doesn't seem to be fazed by, since he's mentioned that the company has an ample supply of cash on hand and is anticipating buying theaters at extremely cheap prices in order to increase AMC's balance sheet with hard assets, adding more movie theaters and therefore generating more revenue for the industry. In addition to all this, cost to borrow is starting to steadily rise, which is raising expenses for anybody who would choose to go short on AMC now or in the future. And one further piece of information that I think everybody will be very glad to see is that short exempts have been extremely high, and also a very high portion of the short volume that has been traded in AMC over the last 2 weeks. Back to back over the last several weeks, we saw this massive pop in security lending volume that seemed really odd and out of place for AMC's stock. It didn't really result in any movement of the price, but it actually coincides with a big spike in short exempt volume also. Focusing in very closely on the last few weeks of October, where we saw this giant surge of lending volume in the market. These giant pops of lending volume also coincide with some very large increases of short exempt volume at the same time. It actually made up about 2.7% of the short volume overall. And this ratio has been growing very recently as AMC's stock has been rising, which this tells a story that AMC's market makers have been struggling to locate shares and are turning to short exempts in order to supply shares to buyers in order to fulfill the orders. This is going to create failures to deliver if they're not able to locate those shares by the T+6 settlement date, since those short exempts were created. So, as a matter of fact, starting on Thursday, some of these may have started to fail to deliver. And all that this implies is that market makers seem to be losing a little bit of control of AMC's stock price as of recent. So while it's not a firm signal that AMC is about to squeeze imminently, it is very positive. The one thing that I do say that suggests that AMC's price may be up for an imminent squeeze is that the 5-day simple moving average delta rate, or the rate of change in the stock price, has been over 5% more than 3 consecutive days in the last 2 trading weeks. So this actually meets one of my conditions, or rather meets all 3 of my conditions for AMC. 1, utilization, maxed out. 2, short exempt ratio was greater than 3% for 3 consecutive trading days. And the 5-day SMA delta rate was greater than 5% for 3 consecutive trading days. So all 3 of my conditions for a squeeze have been met, which suggests that AMC could be squeezing within the next 30 days. That would also happen to agree with this gamma ramp chart, which shows that if AMC continues to make moves to the upside and breaks above $10, then that would place more than 4% of its total float in the money just on the options chain through November to December the 30th. I'm very pleased to see that AMC closed above 750, which was just the start of a big ramp of call options. Unfortunately, a lot of these did expire out of the money, but we can see that there's many more up above $10 that are sitting on the chain for several months out. And it seems like every monthly expiration as well as a quarterly expiration for AMC shows that $10 is a significant price level. So this is probably where I would focus my buying efforts for call options in the future. So now that brings me to the biggest piece of news that we've seen in AMC so far, that there's 8 quadrillion synthetic shares of AMC based on this Reddit post showing that the total supply of AMC tokens that are AMC wrap tokens against Ethereum coin have a supply of more than 8 quadrillion tokens. It's a hilarious number, but I just wanted to take the time to address this because I see a lot of people that are throwing all of their hopes and dreams into this number and calling this out as a sign of fraud, which you are right, it is a sign of fraud, but not for the reasons that you think. To start with, this was actually already addressed by Adam Aaron a long time ago. This AMC token was marketed to apes in order to try to convince them that it would go to fighting market makers and stuff like that, which is totally bogus. The AMC token was never actually created by the company, so therefore it doesn't actually. It's just a token. Anybody can create a token, and Adam Aaron said publicly on Twitter that AMC company had nothing to do with it. So first of all, the AMC FTX token that was listed was literally never accepted or minted by AMC, the company. So it shouldn't even exist in the first place. It was never agreed upon by the company. And now that FTX has collapsed, this thing is totally worthless. So even though it says it was trading for $4, means literally nothing now because FTX is just totally defaulted. And now, for all we know, Sam Bankman-Fried is on the run. And since they filed for bankruptcy on the 11th, the company's gone. There's no way for anybody who may have bought the AMC token to recover their losses. But really, the total supply itself should really be a big hint to everybody because tokens like this, the way that crypto works, anybody can create them and they can create an infinite supply of them. There's nothing that limits somebody from creating like all of these tokens repeatedly and just flooding the market with them. And sure, they can define a price for it to start with, but with the availability of them being so widespread, it would only be a matter of time before inflation like activity, or rather deflation like activity, would erode the value of it. So this is the Etherscan website. This is basically a blockchain tracker. And the idea is to go and search through the blockchain to see all of the transactions that occurred in a particular token or crypto coin, whatever you like. So first thing to take note of is that, well, AMC USD never really had a price history, but it's certainly not there anymore just because FTX is gone now. There were FTX tokenized AMCs that were supposedly going for a marked price of $4, which it's never traded at. So I'm not sure why it shows that on Coinbase. But if you go into the records for this on Etherscan and you go back to the very first transaction, which occurred on June the 5th, 2021, which is suspiciously just a day after the actual squeeze occurred, there were 5.24 million shares of AMC token. They're not shares, by the way. They're just tokens traded for a price of $0.000005. So all of these coins, these 5.2 million coins, were transacted for $26. And you can go further into the history, and you can see that the price did steadily climb a little bit, well, quite a bit, up until a certain point. And keep in mind, all of these transactions were taking place on June the 5th, right? All of these transactions were June the 5th. So we finally get to the last day of trading on June the 5th, and the price of these things collapsed completely. Um, there were sellers that were sending these things out for what is this, a 10,000th of a penny, and selling like 46 billion AMC tokens for $824,000. I'm not sure how. I have no idea who was actually putting these up for sale, but I imagine it was the person that was smart enough to know how to create uh, tokenized um, a tokenized asset on the Ether blockchain, and that's all this was. This was a giant scam, okay? And this has nothing to do with AMC shares. Like these aren't even linked to AMC's shares in any way. The total supply is just based on the number of tokens that were in circulation at the time that this was minted. So this is based on these ridiculously sized exchanges or transactions that were taking place. Like this one alone, this one that happened on June the 10th, somebody sold was this 38.955 quadrillion AMC tokens for $501. So the only people who got fleeced are the ones who were actually like buying this crap. This was just a giant scam. And just because this has gotten everyone's attention as of the last the last several days, we saw one more transaction that happened 3 days ago, and I suspect that this is probably somebody who is doing a little bit of investigative work. They bought 2.5 pennies worth of AMC tokens just to see if it was possible, and I guess it was. I assume since the transaction is logged to the blockchain. But the long and short of it is that I don't think that this was even remotely related to AMC's squeeze or anything like that. So while I do applaud the Redditors and the researchers who were digging into this and trying to get some real answers, like it's a very applaudable effort, very worth taking a look into. But ultimately, I fear that this is just not related to AMC's naked short situation. They're totally disjointed assets, and just based on the fact that we know anybody can create a token with any name on the Ether blockchain. And Adam Aaron himself said, like, this shouldn't exist. We're going to go and find who's responsible and sue them. He didn't say that directly. I'm paraphrasing, but he said that he would fight them hard. And I think that the big takeaway here is that it's literally nothing except a big scam, and that's really it. So for all of the rumors that Sam Bankman-Fried is involved in AMC's squeeze cancellation, I mean it's a remote possibility, I suppose, but it's not anything that's conclusive that can be conclusively proven, at least not with the information that we have. Like this is a very loose connection. Just the fact that somebody created a token that his exchange was willing to run. They were willing to run literally any token that was created on the Ether blockchain. So it really doesn't come as such a surprise. So was AMC's token used to launder money? I've also seen that rumor floating around. I just don't think so. If the reality is that FTT and the value of FTX as an exchange was entirely reliant on its ability to supply liquidity to the crypto market and provide its clients with a stable platform for exchanging. And they dumped a whole bunch of client money into an untrustworthy third party that was trading on their behalf, and they blew up their balance sheet. And then as soon as Binance got wind of it, then of course Binance was like, "Holy crap, these guys are totally insolvent. Like they've lost all their money. They've lost everything." And they realized that they needed to just dump FTT tokens, which is the token that was being used to exchange for the AMC token, FTT, AMC, and on the FTX exchange, which both of those tokens exist on the Ether blockchain. So, it, although the funds are linked to FTX exchange, I really doubt that there's a conclusive link between the actual figurehead himself and the AMC token. It just doesn't seem plausible. Regardless of what happens to FTX, which it's surely doomed at this point, and all of the money that was tied up in it is basically worthless, it's going to create a bigger problem for the crypto market than it's going to create for AMC. And I don't believe that the AMC token is even remotely consequential to the fate of AMC, the company, to begin with. The one tie that AMC does have to crypto that I have been able to ascertain is that significant drops in Bitcoin's price did have significance to AMC's stock price at one particular date where Bitcoin collapsed very unexpectedly. This actually came just a few days before AMC went to the moon in May and June of 2021. And also, there was this additional big drop in Bitcoin that came just before AMC popped in January of 2021. So, those are the only two links to Bitcoin that I've been able to detect with AMC. And I would just simply, I wouldn't even establish them as a direct link to each other. The only thing that I can interpret from this is that just based on the fact that very large institutions trade in the equities markets and in crypto simultaneously, if there's a big institution that is short AMC and is using Bitcoin for its collateral, then they've lost a lot of money in that asset class. And so they would be forced to cover their AMC shares in order to make up the shortfall in their balance sheet. But we haven't seen anything like this in Bitcoin, and clearly Bitcoin has been sick, very, very sick for a long time. It's been in this downtrend ever since November of last year. So we're a year later, and we haven't seen anything quite like AMC's squeeze that happened in June. So this big squeeze that occurred, while magnificent and certainly a wonderful wonderful event that made millionaires out of so many apes, I don't think that we'll see the same signal come from Bitcoin or from FTT tokens or AMC tokens or even a trial that has to do with catching the guy that created the AMC tokens. I think that that ship has long since sailed, and since there's no real link between them anyway, I don't think that it would actually do anything for AMC's stock price in the end. Ultimately, this is what controls AMC's fate. Fate of AMC rests in the share price of AMC's stock. If AMC can settle its debt, if AMC can boost its revenue, and if AMC apes can continue to hold up the company, keep up the momentum, and keep putting their faith and support into the company that they love and believe in, then AMC can squeeze again. It's just a matter of holding the stock. That's all it is. It's about doing what is right for you financially. It's about doing what's right for each and every one of us in order to ensure ourselves financial independence and freedom. That's going to be it for this video. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Until then, have a hell of a time in the markets. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to watch this video. If you enjoyed the content and you found this information helpful to you in your own trading strategies, be sure to leave a like on the video. It helps out the YouTube algorithm and helps us reach out to others who need this information too. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're not a member of Hell's Trading Floor already, consider joining our Discord by joining us at hellstradingfloor.com, which will allow you to sign up for our Discord at discord.gg/hellstradingfloor. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, have a hell of a time in the markets.